This video was brought to you by Squarespace.
That was just fun. Before we get started, first I want to address something that I said in the video I put out on Topic Arlo. It was my last minute hopes for Pokemon Legends ZA. I want to talk about something I said and the reaction to my words. I am well aware now that Gator is spelled Gator, not ER, as I seemed to claim in that video. I don't know if the insomnia excuse still holds water, because I mean, like, it is still a thing. It totally is, you know. And in particular, the last 2 nights before that, I did not sleep very much. I don't know how much I can excuse these lapses in brain functioning and blame it on that kind of thing. I don't know, but I do thank you for bearing with me. I don't know. I just, in that moment, I'm looking at the T and the R, and it's a brain fart, I guess. Just suddenly, my brain just puts an E. I'm just not thinking. I'm not thinking about the actual name. So it just it happened, and I apologize, and I just wanted to let you all know that I know that, and it was a lapse in judgment, and I had to say it here so that I wouldn't have to be embarrassed about it for the rest of my life. Thank you. Enjoy the actual video. Hello, my lovely, lovely friends. I have been playing Pokemon Legends ZA, and now the time has come for me to share with you my early impressions. As usual, opinions are pretty all over the place. A lot of people have plenty of nice things to say about the game, but then there are a whole lot of criticisms. Naturally, this is a Pokemon game we're talking about. But it's interesting because a lot of people have been really curious to know what I would end up thinking about the game. And yet, so far, I think I might be able to say that this has been one of the least surprising Pokemon games I've ever played. Like, apart from one exception, which I'll mention, basically everything has been completely, perfectly, precisely in line with my expectations based on the trailer and, like, playing the demo and stuff. Like, the game is not worse or better than what I expected in pretty much any way. Right now, I think I still technically may be in the tutorial. I'm not 100% sure. This game really does have a long tutorial. It is quite a while of just being like, go here, do this, go here, do this, you know, before they take the training wheels off. And I think the wheels are off. It's opened up a good bit. I still kind of have this feeling like they're running behind me with their hands on either side of me, you know? It's like, technically I'm riding on my own, but like they're still kind of there. I don't know, but even if I haven't experienced like every single thing the game has to offer yet, I'm sure there are going to be more, you know, mechanics, or at the very least like characters and concepts and whatnot. I do feel like I've gotten a pretty good vertical slice so far, got a pretty good taste of what the game has to offer. And the game really is decently small in scope, at least relatively. You know, this isn't a big Pokemon adventure, this big grand thing, you know, like the last couple games. It was Scarlet and Violet, huge open world, and then Legends Arceus, you know, not as big as that, but it still had these really big open areas. This really is just the one city, and it's really not actually that big of a city. And I wouldn't say that that's necessarily a bad thing. I kind of feel like it works for this game. I know that if, you know, it's the Pokemon Company, they make so much money, so there is kind of an expectation to make a bigger experience, especially if they're charging next-gen prices for it. But if I look at just the game for what it is, it does kind of work. It's giving me kind of Yakuza or even like Persona vibes. You know, you've got your city, you've got your place that you run around, and like, it's not huge, but there's a really good amount of stuff to do in there. It's a little bit more densely packed because you're in a smaller space. There's a much bigger emphasis on characters. You know, like you bump into these characters all the time, and I can tell that there is clearly a lot of story waiting for me, you know? Like, it's been setting up a lot of stuff, a lot of plot threads, and I'm sure there's going to be a whole mystery and all sorts of intrigue and everything. That said, I will remind you that I did not play Pokemon X and Y, so a lot of this is probably going over my head. There's probably a lot more like story and character significance in here that I'm not catching. But even though I didn't play X and Y, like, I'm still finding it all pretty enjoyable so far. The characters are fun. I'm curious to see where the story goes, the bigger mysteries. There are two things about the story that I can point out so far. The first is, I know that, like, basically every game, especially, like, you know, a Nintendo game, a Pokemon game, like, they're always going to be, like, pretending that the main character is, the player is special, you know, like, you are the only one who can help us. And they're not wrong. You are the person playing the game. But this game, it kind of lays it on a little bit thicker than usual, and it's almost kind of off-putting. Like, I'm starting to, like, I'm starting to feel like I'm the mark here. This is like a citywide scam. This is like, it's like M. Night Shyamalan's The Trap. I feel like I'm getting the trapped here. Like, there's something going on. Because, like, they're just like, the second you get there, they're like, oh, well, you've never picked up a Pokeball in your life? You're definitely the one who's going to save this city. And you're like, what does that even mean? Like, they just, like, I don't even get it. They're laying a lot on me really fast, and it's strange. Like, is that gonna be a plot point? Or is that just a game being a game? I'm really not sure yet. I'm pretty curious, though. And then another surprising thing, leading up to release, you know, watching all the trailers and stuff, it was like, it really does just kind of look like these wild areas are just city streets that they dumped a bunch of Pokemon in. Like, it doesn't look really that natural. And that was kind of like a criticism of what we saw. Yeah, apparently the characters, the people who live in this city agree. They agree. That's like a thing. It's like a plot point. There are people who are like, you can't just take Pokemon and dump them into the city. It's kind of like they're wreaking havoc. It's like a problem. So, like, no, I mean, that's pretty fun. I'm genuinely curious to see where that whole idea goes. Before we continue, a quick reminder that this video was brought to you by Squarespace. I needed a website where I could recommend things to people, but I didn't know how to make a website. You kidding me? Coding? There's no way I'm doing that. But no, with Squarespace, I started with a template, and then I used the intuitive builder to tweak stuff, move it around, format it, just put in whatever I wanted, and I was done. Boom, slick, professional looking site. Uploading content is super easy as well. I paste in my text, I embed pictures or videos or whatever, schedule everything to automatically publish and push to social media later, and again, I am done. And my site's simple, but you can do whatever you want. You know, something fancy for your business, for your customers, you could sell stuff, or something personal, you can put your digital art on there, like a portfolio, anything. If you need something extra fancy, Squarespace offers lots of powerful extensions, and they also offer a great suite of analytics to keep track of everything. To try out Squarespace for yourself, head to squarespace.com for a free trial. Then when you're ready to launch, head to squarespace.com/Arlo to save 10% off your first website or domain. And now for today's recommendation. We Are But Hunks of Wood by Little People. Electronic, indie, pop kind of thing. Some people describe it as trip hop. I feel like that's only some of the time. I don't know. It's a really fantastic album, though. It's from 2012, but it still feels really fresh to me. Thanks again to Squarespace. Please enjoy the rest of the video. And speaking of story and characters and all that, the cutscenes are not bad. They're really not bad. I know that the bar for Pokemon is pretty low, like, you know, going back to Sword and Shield, that was one of my biggest problems with the game, is there was barely any story. And the story that we did get, they couldn't be bothered to actually animate the characters doing it, especially if it like required a unique animation. They would just not do it. They would just like cut to black or whatever. But then Scarlet and Violet, you know, that was a big improvement. Legends Arceus was a decent improvement, but this is like definitely the best yet. Like, this is the best animated Pokemon yet. I mean, there are, you know, these cutscenes, there's nothing special. And not a lot has really happened yet. It's mostly just been people talking, but like, I don't know. Obviously there are going to be a lot of recycled animations and stuff, like any game is going to do that, but there are also a pretty good number of little bespoke animation moments, you know, like these characters are decently expressive. For a Pokemon game, it's kind of surprising, which is making the absolute, complete and utter lack of voice acting a little bit weirder, you know, like I'm not even the kind of person who feels like every game absolutely has to have voice acting, but I will say, like, the better animated these cutscenes get, the more weird it is that everyone is just dead silent, just not so much as a squeak coming out of anyone's mouth. It is getting pretty awkward. But you know, if there is one thing about Pokemon Legends ZA that has actually surprised me so far, it is the visuals. And I know that's funny because, like, the game is very plain. You know, you're not wrong. The game could look a lot better. But I would say that plainness is really the game's biggest sin. I don't think the game looks bad. It doesn't look as good as it should, especially because, like, this is a city. Like, you know, like, even real cities look more interesting than this. Like, it's video game world, you know, you take normal things and you make them even more interesting. It is pretty plain, and it is a Pokemon game, so a lot of it is just kind of inconsistent. You know, some stuff is modeled okay, but then other stuff was obviously put on the back burner until they ran out of time. You know, everyone talks about, like, the balconies and stuff. Sometimes it's just like these flat textures or whatever. So plain, yes, but I would not say bad, and in some areas actually better than I expected. I really was expecting them to just run the game at a higher resolution, and that's it, you know, and especially if they're going to charge $70 for it, then that's annoying, you know, $10 more than the Switch 1 version. That was going to be really annoying. But no, I am happy to see that they did basically give this game the, you know, the Metroid Prime 4 treatment, where I don't want to say remaster. They're not remaster. They're releasing both versions at the same time. It is a higher quality mastering of the same experience. The textures in this game are much, much sharper than you would get in the Switch version. It's not just the resolution that the game is rendering at. It is also the textures themselves, in the same way that they would do if they were remastering a game. So it does actually look pretty good. Like, when you're in a place, especially like indoors, there are like some indoor areas, you know, like your little room, where you're looking around and you're like, you know what? If I kind of squint, it almost looks like I'm not playing a Pokemon game. It's pretty okay. But then a problem comes from inconsistency. You know, 4 out of 5 textures will look great, and then there will just be one that it looks like it wasn't remastered at all. It's just like, oh no, like, why is this one sidewalk texture still all pixely? You know, it stands out a lot more. So, like, yeah, inconsistency is another kind of a problem, but they did touch up the visuals more than I expected, and overall just having the game run really well, that still does mean a lot to me. You know, like, if I were playing on Switch 1, I would be way more bothered about the plain visuals. But, like, it's not terrible, and it's running. I know this is like total Stockholm syndrome. I know, like, I know we should expect more from Pokemon, but I don't know. It's really not the worst. And even just having that high resolution and frame rate, it really, really does wonders. So even this relatively plain environment, I don't know, it's still that much more pleasant to be in. So back to the city itself and, you know, what you do in it. So you've got this day and night cycle, and as I've talked about endlessly, I've been really, really curious to see how they were going to handle it. Is it real time? Is it something that you select and you decide when to go into each mode? Basically, it is real time. It is. It's based on a real clock, and yeah, you know, during the day, you're running around the city. You can go in and out of wild areas, just kind of like whenever you want. They're just kind of there waiting for you. And, you know, there are items all over the place in wild areas and out. There are people, NPCs all over the place. You can do like little side quests. You know, people just have little missions for you. Go do this, go beat that. It's stuff, you know, we've had this before, but there's a good amount of it. And there's like these crystals that you can break and get gems or whatever. And there's like, you know, the rooftops, you can explore those. So like there's a good amount of just like kind of like free form exploration. But then when night falls, you go into these special areas to do the ZA Royale, where you're like fighting a bunch of trainers. And I'll talk more about that in a second here. But yeah, the real-time element, it really is interesting. I really think it adds an interesting element to the game. The days are long enough that I don't really feel like pressed for time. You know, I don't feel rushed. I don't feel like I'm going to be interrupted when night falls. And yet having that limitation, knowing that it's coming, I like it. It kind of like, it forces me to not do any one thing forever. It kind of like, it forces a little bit of variety into the experience, but very gently, very softly, like pretty much when I would be reaching the point where like I'm bored just running around doing stuff and I want to go fight some trainers. Like, I don't know, it feels like a really good balance to me. And you know, and there is a real limitation when you are doing the ZA Royale. You know, the nights are probably not as long as the days are. I haven't like measured it or anything, but like there is an element there where you might not be able to do everything and collect everything and beat every trainer, but it's like that's kind of in a fun way. You know, it's that's like a day in Pikmin where there's enough time to do everything you need, but it's just limited enough that it kind of presses you to like try to do as well as you can, kind of set your own goals, you know? And then, yeah, just kind of having all of these things limited and kind of switching back and forth, it lends a certain weight to your actions. I don't know if I could use the word realism, but I mean, but kind of, yeah, like having it real time, it's a little bit of realism or immersion. I don't know, it makes the days feel like days. You know, does this make any sense at all? I don't know. It does something for the feel of the game that I really appreciate. You don't have a limited number of days to do what you need to do. You know, you're not going to like miss out on anything if you're not fast enough. But it adds just enough of a structure to the experience. One thing I'm really interested to see more of, the game kind of introduces this idea that like, oh, if you're in the wrong place at the wrong time and then night falls, then like suddenly you may find yourself in the middle of this scary area where all the trainers want to fight you. And I haven't really like experienced that yet myself. I don't know how much of a thing that is going to be. I could imagine that like, yeah, if you're in the wrong spot and you know, the trainers, when they see you, you got to fight them. So like if you're not healed up properly, that could be a thing. But yeah, it hasn't really like happened to me yet. So I'm interested to see if that ends up being a thing at all. So let's talk gameplay. It is kind of hard to know where to begin, but at the same time, I should probably keep all of my many thoughts to myself, kind of save the full discussion for the full review, kind of just touch on it here, I suppose. But like, I don't know, it's always valid to criticize Pokemon. It is, like, it really is, you know? This game's got problems, you got problems again, like that's cool, but like, I really do think a lot of people are overlooking how dramatically this game is evolving the formula. I really honestly do believe that this game, gameplay-wise, represents the single biggest innovation that we have ever seen in the mainline Pokemon series. There has never been a bigger shift in how the game works than right now with the introduction of these real-time battles. And it's not just the battles is the thing. Really, the whole game is about freedom. You know, like plenty of games have had your Pokemon like follow you around. You know, you can bring them out. And then Arceus introduced the idea of real-time catching, just kind of like running around and throwing around, like throwing a Pokeball as though it's, you know, you just hit the button and you physically throw the item. But then when you got into battles, it was still turn-based. And then Scarlet and Violet introduced the idea of sending out your Pokemon and having them like battle in real time right there on the field, but that was still mostly automatic, so it's not quite there. This is all of those ideas fully realized. Like, this is it. This is something that Pokemon has been building to for a really long time. This is easily the most organic and intuitive Pokemon gameplay that has ever been. You know, and I'm not gonna claim that turn-based Pokemon is bad or that it should go away forever. If anything, I think it's great that this is kind of like sort of, it's mainline, but it's kind of a spin-off thing. It's kind of its own thing with the active battling. I think that's a really good idea. Keep turn-based in the mainline games, sure. But for me personally, this is just better. It's just better. It's the strategy of turn-based combat, except I'm doing it on the fly. I'm doing intuitively. Again, it's such a more fluid and freeform way. It's way more, always talking about like more like the anime. It feels more like if Pokemon were real and I was really a person, just like my Pokemon is in this Pokeball. I throw it and they come out and they do what I say. Like it's just, yeah, again, the word realistic is funny to use here, but it's kind of what it is. It doesn't matter where I am or what I'm doing. I can bring out my Pokemon and target anything and use any move. So, like in battle, obviously that's humongous, targeting the opponent and choosing which move. And it's almost not even worth like going into all the details because like it's everything we knew leading up to launch. It's, the moves are based on cooldowns now. So like different moves have different cooldowns and different windups, different speeds. So you take all of the regular stats that you would, and effects and whatnot from Pokemon moves, but now you're adding this real-time element. So there's just a lot more to consider. And I'm not good at it. I'm really not good. I'm not good at the turn-based games either. But like, it's just fun. To me personally, it's so much more fun. It's the same thing, but more fun. Battles are now so fast. They're thrilling. And that's been one of my biggest problems, like with Pokemon. Turn-based isn't even so bad. It's that it just takes forever. There's so much fluff. We have to wait for too much. It just takes too much waiting. Speed it up. Other turn-based games have realized that you can do turn-based and still have it move at a faster pace. So this it trims off all the waiting, all the fluff. There is no waiting. You're just in it. You're just in it and you're fighting. And it's just fun. I don't know. So far, there has been less of an emphasis on moving around than I expected. When you're fighting these like rogue mega evolution battles, it matters a lot more because you just have like this one big target and they have these big moves and they're really telegraphed. But like when it's just a couple of small Pokemon on a street corner, they're shooting their moves at each other so fast that I'm constantly on the move, and yet I never dodge anything. So it could just be a thing where I need to be better with my timing. It may matter more later, but yeah, the actual like moving around, I haven't really nailed that down yet. But the rest of it, just like the different moves, it completely affects what moves I'm willing to have. Like I would never do like status effects moves before because I'm a filthy casual. I'm like, I just want stuff that does damage. But like now it's great because like my attacks are now cooling down. So yeah, I can get a leer in there. I got a couple seconds. You want to be able to utilize all of these moves. I don't know. It really changes the experience. And so far I am really enjoying it. It's incredibly, incredibly fun. And it's not just in battle. Like, even if it was just, like, the ZA Royale stuff, that would be good enough. That would still be pretty great, because it really does make that whole thing, it's so fast and fluid and fun. You're running around and you're fighting trainers and you're burning through them super quick, and there's, like, items all over the place, and there's little, like, goals that you can meet, like, knock out a Pokemon with a fire-type move, and you'll get a bonus. Like, I don't know, it's so much energy. It's super fun. But the freedom goes with you everywhere. Like I said, it doesn't matter what you're doing. Pokemon games have always had like, oh, you gotta like know rock smash or cut or whatever to like get past this obstacle, but you gotta like go in the menu and select it or whatever. And then in Arceus, it had kind of the same idea where there's like, oh, there's like trees to knock down fruit from and rocks to break, but the Pokemon would do it automatically. Well, now again, you take all of these ideas and they have been fully realized. Now it's, hey, there are some rocks. Okay, you have a Pokemon with rock smash. Okay, well, you bring out that Pokemon. You select, you target the rock and you select Rock Smash. So again, it's like if Pokemon were real. It's like the anime. I bring out my guy and I say, hey, do Rock Smash on that thing. And it's like, I don't know, it's not a huge difference mechanically, and yet it does so much for immersion. It feels like I actually have agency in this world, I don't know. It's just the freedom to just bring out any Pokemon and do any move on anything, even if this game isn't exploring the idea really, really deeply. it's hard not to see the potential. It's hard not to see this as like, ooh, like this, like they've really tapped into something here. This is the beginning of something good. If they keep building this into bigger experiences, I can only imagine how amazing it could be when you do break back out of the city and put this out in a bigger world and there's more stuff to interact with your Pokemon moves, you know? So to summarize, I have not played Pokemon Legends ZA for that long yet, but based on what I've seen, I can tell that it is not a huge game. It is really not a grand Pokemon adventure, nor is it a surprising game. And yet, because of the gameplay, because of the ways that it takes these long-standing ideas and really starts to bring them to a place that feels a lot more fully developed and realized, it's fun. It's so much fun. I'm having a tremendous amount of fun with the game so far. In ways, the game feels very modest. It could have been bigger and grander, sure, but it also simultaneously feels like the bright future of Pokemon. It really feels like we're at the beginning of something special here. But we'll see. We'll see if this formula holds up for the course of an entire game. Don't know, still pretty early on, but I am excited to play more. Let me know what you think about Pokemon Legends ZA down in the comments if you feel so inclined. And I love you.